Man needed a term by which to point out the direction of this effort, the cloud behind which lay forever invisible the object of this attempt. A word, in fine, was demanded by means of which one human being might put himself in relation at once with another human being and with a certain tendency of the human intellect. Out of this arose this term, which is thus the representative of the thought of a thought. The fact is that upon the enunciation of any one of that class of terms to which this belongs, the class representing thoughts of thought, he who has a right to say that he thinks at all feels himself called upon not to entertain a conception, but simply to direct his mental vision toward some given point in the intellectual firmament where lies a nebula never to be solved. To solve it, indeed, he makes no effort, for with a rapid instinct he comprehends not only the impossibility, but as regards all human purposes, the inessentiality of its solution. He sees at once how it lies out of the brain of man, and ever how, if not exactly why, it lies out of it. In the secret doctrine of the Rosicrucians, therefore, there is no attempt made to define the essence of the eternal parent. In fact, it is held in the spirit of Spinoza's celebrated aphorism that to define the infinite is to deny the infinite. In refusing to ascribe the finite qualities, properties, and attributes of personality to the eternal parent, the Rosicrucians do not mean to imply that the infinite reality is below the plane of personality, but rather that it is so immeasurably above this plane and so infinitely transcends all personality that it is childish to think or speak of it in the terms of personality. It has been held by eminent thinkers that even the finite intelligence of men is capable of conceiving of a state of intelligence as much higher than that of the most intelligent man, as the latter is higher than that of the black beetle. This being so, it can readily be seen that such a power, to which the manifestation of such a superlative degree of intelligence being is but a bagatelle effort, that's the word I've never heard, bagatelle effort, of power, is and must be in its essential nature so infinitely above the plane of human personality that it is practically an insult to think of it in the terms of personality. I know this sounds very redundant. I'm interjecting here, but I was raised, all my life I've at times read the Bible, and they always talk about the personality of God, of the Bible, who is the creator of all that is. And boy, they give him a lot of human personality traits, like he can be jealous, he can be forgetful, he can be judgmental, demanding, unreasonable. He can be all-powerful and know everything, and yet things happen that he hates that they happen. And if he's all-powerful, why did he let it happen? You know, these kind of questions come to us when we question that kind of God of the Bible, that kind of understanding that we have if we conceive of God as the Bible has helped us to conceive of God. Because then we see him as a personal God with a personality like ours. Like, say he's a father or some figure like that. But according to this, what I'm reading here, it seems to be that we can't conceive of God that way, like he was a human with human emotions. And if the Rosicrucians are on some kind of trip to mess up people's minds, it seems like the opposite of that is true, that the church telling people that the God of the Bible is the true God, They're the ones trying to mess up our minds with all this personality and all these human emotions they give to God. And I don't like it that it looks that way, but it seems that the church has fostered a big old horrible lot of meaning that is meaningless and that is destructive too. And while some people think of them as really good people, the truth is there are a lot of good people in churches, but in general, what the church preaches about the concept of God is not good. I was even considering the other day that some people believe that the devil is God and God is the devil. Well, I can really understand that because in the Bible, the devil is presented as an angel of light, and he wants man to know good and evil, and he wants him to be as God. Now, unless you just are trained to see that as very bad, you could also look at that and say, well, that's good, to know good from evil, and that would certainly be a necessary thing. You'd want to know good from evil. And why wouldn't you want to be as God when Jesus was God? And you want to be as Jesus. So it's like, why do they think of that as a bad thing when they're talking about the devil, that he wanted to be like God, and he wants us to be like God? Now, on the other hand, if you follow the God of Moses through the wilderness, if you took all that literal, which really it isn't, but people conceive of it as literal, this God told his people, kill, pillage, maim, burn, all that you see on your way, to the promised land. They just did horrible, horrendous things. And some of the acts of different ones that are talked about in the Bible, like Esau and Jacob and different ones, some of the crazy things they did are ununderstandable. But that Bible was written by an Eastern mind, that all of the things that they talked about were allegory. They didn't mean what they apparently looked like they meant. And if they really did mean that, I wouldn't care at all for Moses, because to me he would be a horrible man. I wouldn't care at all for many of the Bible heroes, because they did some pretty terrible things. But I've been listening to a man called Bill, who has this program called Hidden Meanings of the Bible, and he explains all of these seemingly horrible things, and he gives the symbolic meaning of it, and you get to realizing that no person in the Bible was a real person. They were all attributes of our human psyche that they were talking about. And they told strange stories to present certain things, and they used symbolisms of things that are heavenly beings, the stars and the signs of the zodiac and all that had a big meaning in the Bible that was hidden from most people who took it to be literal and didn't see what was really being said. But loving that God of the Old Testament, they told them to kill and all that, they went on their merry way, never questioning, well, gosh, this God seems more like a devil. So I can understand why people would confuse in the Bible the description of Satan and the description of God, because a God that would give anyone a sentence of eternal punishment and torture forever and ever, when our life is but not even a nanosecond compared to that, well, that's just unjust. That's just, the crime doesn't fit, the punishment doesn't fit the crime at all. That you could live for 1 nanosecond and then forever be tormented by this good God that the Bible presents, if you take it literally. So I've been listening to Bill talk on his hidden meanings of the Bible, and I'm beginning to understand some of those dark sayings and how this is the Oriental mind and their way of making allegory to make a point that if you take it literally, it will seem so stupid that you can't take it literally. So you would think people would say, this has some other meaning other than the literal meaning. I mean, that would be the logical conclusion. And I'm liking this so far. As I read this, I'm seeing that the Rosicrucians want to understand who and what God is. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I can go along with a lot of what they're saying here. And if you want to leave any comments, you feel free to. And I will begin the next series in the next one. I'll start here where it says it has been held by eminent thinkers. Because I like this. It's like I'm getting to probe the mind of people who really took time to think things through and try to use reason, their God-given reason, to understand what our world is and who we are within it. I'm thinking that we need to understand this more than ever now because the world's getting kind of messed up. People are doing some things that show they're getting into a lot of fear, and when fear predominates, the people do awful things to one another. So we need to learn about this God, because this God is within us, and we've got to find him there. It's our salvation to find him within us, or her within us. But I think we're not going to find so much a personality as an impersonality, a principle, a mathematical principle sometimes. But it's not going to be the literal interpretation that was given to us by the church of who and what God is. They have missed it completely, absolutely zero missed it. They have no conception. I have sisters that think like that. And I can't even talk to them logic because they won't hear it. They absolutely won't refuse to open their minds to hear one logical thing I say to them when the very few occasions I have that I speak to them at all. They live so far away, I don't get to see them very often. And it's gotten to the point where if we do get together, we avoid the subject of beliefs or religion or anything like that, because it only causes arguments to begin. And I really don't want to participate in that anymore. At one point I thought there was a possibility I could convince them of something, but I've long since said, oh, let's just wait until the masses get it, and then they'll be part of the masses that get this truth that is being brought to light by a few of us today who are researching this and trying to figure things out and trying to put ourselves in a place of being able to learn, because we don't have our cups already filled up with what we think we know. I know that I don't know it all, so I listen inwardly. And I do know when I hear error, I do know that. But I don't know completely all that's true. How could anybody, they would have to say they know God, and God is unknowable. I developed a thought. I said, you can't know God, but you can experience God. Because God kind of like flows through you, and you feel God as he flows through you. Like a power, like a breath that animates you. But you can't take any thoughts that you have of God and put them in some kind of a dam them up, and not let them go, because sometimes you've had thoughts that you've had to let go. And if you hold things in a dam and don't let any outflow go out, the dam just gets real stinky and can't even support life, because you can't dam God up. He's a power that's ever moving and ever revealing more of itself. So I don't have any religion to speak of. And I'm not sad over that. I'm actually pretty happy over that. Doesn't mean I'm not spiritual, but I'm not religious. I can't even religiously think to do a certain thing every single day. But I've often said if I had to take a pill to save my life every 2 hours of the day, I would just have to say let me die because I can't remember that. And I don't want to have to do something like that. But anyway, I'll quit talking. I'm talking silly now, so I'll shut up. If you have any comments, you can interject them. I love comments.